Hello, everybody. My name is Sarah, and I am the founder of the Caregiver Hub. And today I just decided to jump on and do a very impromptu live stream. Never done one before. Very excited to be here. But I've been watching the Olympics, and I've been seeing some really beautiful stuff happening with the athletes. And I just wanted to share a parallel that I kind of noticed and how it can apply to the professional world. So I've been watching athletes, and I've seen a lot of athletes talking to themselves this Olympics. And I think it's something that all happened, but it's been very pronounced this time around. And even on Instagram and TikTok, I've seen a lot of people take these clips and slow them down and like caption what they were saying, or people who are really good at reading lips will put captions of what these athletes are saying to themselves. And it just made me remember so many articles and research and work I've done about self-talk. I myself was actually a competitive track runner for about 11 years. So I'm very familiar with self-talk, but to be quite honest, I can't say my self-talk was positive back in the day when I was actually competing. And it wasn't until I got into nursing and started doing a lot more travel nursing and working in a lot of different environments, I really had to hone in on that self talk, because when you're tossed in a new environment and you're not as comfortable with what you're being exposed to, the way you respond to those situations often is like initially a visceral, like a physical sensation, and then your thoughts, at least for me. And I had to remember that the way I speak to myself impacts the way that I show up when I'm in stressful situations. So, watching these athletes go through the process of being in one of the most stressful situations that they might experience as athletes, it made me reflect on some of the really stressful and life-changing experiences I've had as a nurse, and some of the interviews I've done with nurses or doctors who've shared their experiences with me about stressful experiences that they've had. And I bring all of this up because it makes me think about when I'm a nurse and I am in a situation where I might have to give CPR, the way I talk to myself is going to be really important. So if I can slow down my thought process, my breathing, and slow down my heart rate, the adrenaline, and remind myself, like, you know what you're doing, you're going to be fine. Just take it one step at a time. That kind of reassurance, self-belief, that kind of empathy and compassion for myself is going to push me a lot further than if I were to berate myself, like, come on, you know this, don't mess it up, all this kind of stuff, right? So I really wanted to bring that up. It's all stuff we know, but I just keep seeing that with athletes this year in 2024. So many athletes are speaking to themselves in such a beautiful manner. And I hope that we can see these same parallels happen in professional environments, in healthcare, in the office as a CEO, in mergers, whenever you're interacting with people or in situations where you have to make split decisions. I'm curious. I'm wanting to ask people to take a personal self inventory and take the time to reflect on times that have been stressful. How did you talk to yourself in those moments? Were you berating yourself? Were you calm? Were you encouraging? And if you were any of those, how did the situation go? And based on how it went, do you think it could have been better if you had interacted with yourself in a different way? I think this personal inventory is so important because the way we interact with ourselves often unconsciously works its way into how we interact with others. So I've been doing a lot of work on leadership techniques and working with people and nurses and hospitals to try and build programs where we can focus on interprofessional communication, intercultural communication, on all of that. But if we are not even aware of our own self-dialogue, it'll be very difficult to improve the way you interact with others. So I'd love you to take a personal inventory, and I would love you to think about a situation where you interacted with a colleague or a partner and reflect on that interaction and see if the way you reacted to them stemmed from maybe internal anxiety or the way you were speaking to yourself. I know this is a big ask, but I think it's actually very relevant, and I think it's actually a very big game changer. And, you know, there's a few techniques that I can talk about to kind of improve your self-talk. Like the first one is actually recognizing the patterns. So if you do talk to yourself negatively, it's important that you recognize that this is what's happening, right? Once you've recognized it, you can reframe those thoughts, and then you can start using little affirmations. And I know that's like a buzzword right now, affirmations, but like we don't even have to use that word. We can start using substitutes for words that might be habitual for you. So rather than, how could you do this, or that was stupid of you, or whatever, you could just say like, oh, we could have done this better. Just changing the tone, changing the way you approach what you're trying to say to yourself is um, is a game changer. It literally is a game changer. And I'll just give one more story. I remember working at one hospital where I was working with a physician, and whenever that physician would get upset, they would yell. And for me, it wasn't just like a yelling, like, where is this patient? It was like, oh, you have done this wrong. And it was very belittling. And initially, when I started there, I would almost freeze because I felt like I was being attacked. So I had to condition and reframe that type of situation for myself. I had to reflect on what I was telling myself about myself when I felt yelled at and berated. And then I had to realize that the way people respond to me is not always because of exactly what I've done. There's always a way to respond to people in a more calm and regulated way. And over time, the way I spoke to myself in situations where I felt stressed or threatened became a lot more softer and gentle. And I was able to pass that knowledge on to some of my colleagues too. It's not a flip switch, but it gets better. It gets better with time. So yeah, using self-talk to navigate through stressful situations, whether you're at the Olympics or whether you're working in an office or having a dispute with a colleague or at the bedside with a patient, is going to be something to be aware of. Positive self-talk, understanding your nervous system, all things that I think are really, really important and helpful. So yes, I encourage you all to take this time to do an inventory of situations, reflect on how you speak to yourself. And if you are wanting to learn more about this, send me a message. I have some courses I have coming out about all of this. And there's some really great stuff coming out, guys. And I'm more than happy to do more lives, more discussions, whatever it may be. This was very impromptu, but hey, why not talk about how we talk to ourselves? I mean, why not? All right. So have an amazing rest of the day, evening, morning, wherever you are, whatever time it is. I just kept seeing this beautiful trend of athletes speaking to themselves beautifully. And I thought, no, I need to talk about this in a professional capacity, because I feel like oftentimes we're leading from a place of, not understanding where we are starting from at a baseline, not even thinking about what we're thinking about, right? But yeah, I'm going to leave it there before I continue to ramble. Hopefully you enjoyed this live. I would love to hear about what you have to say, and I will talk to you later. Lots of love from the Caregiver Hub. Bye.